Good afternoon, everybody. Just starting up a quick afternoon session of study, real quick. And this is actually going to be all about what do you call it? Just a weekly wrap up, looking at the past week of study in all in regards to two-bet calling ranges or assigning two-bet calling ranges to our opponents right here. So this full week. Had a lot of good studies. Kicked it off last Sunday with I guess a preparation, a study preparation day where I just did all my planning, everything. Looked at some pretty good, what do you call it? Looked at some pretty good outside poker content and made some plans for things that I wanted to study within my own poker database and things I wanted to look at. A lot of work using Flopzilla, all that kind of stuff. So it was a pretty darn good week of study, and a lot of you joined me for the whole time, and I really want to thank you for that for sure. Just sharing with Facebook and Twitter that I am live now. Alrighty, so kicked off with a really good start to the week. Good planning session, hour and a half on Sunday right there. And actually, let's pull out the study notes. So started by recording all of my stats tomorrow. I'll go through this again and record all my stats for the week ending. I'm going to play some sessions tonight. So there'll be more hands added to this right here. So I'll record all those stats, see what my progress is. So all the different days right here, this was all my planning. I'll record my ending stats for this tomorrow as well, because I'm playing today. I always like to get a full weekend from beginning to end, see how these kinds of things change here. That's all the content that we studied, and then from day by day just went through and just did a ton of studying all our different content. Each day I talked about all these things, so if you missed any days, you can go back on Twitch and find those videos that you missed, or go to YouTube and watch there. On the left you can see all the different days, sessions, and all the stuff that we studied. Day 7 today, finally finishing it out right here. Watched a split suit video, talked about that, and talked about cheat sheet and the flashcards, which I actually, let me show you. I went printed and laminated my flashcard, so let me see Twitch, see how it looks. Yeah, okay, yeah, you can see that pretty well right there. It is a small screen, but yeah, you can see it's laminated. The sucker's going to be next to me every time I play, just, next to the monitor here, along with my KISS cash pre-flop ranges, all that stuff, so that's that. I also made the flashcards I was talking about. Let me show you right here. So, the 5% range, when you turn it over, bam, there's a printout of the 5% range right there as well. So I'm going to have these flashcards that I'm going to be studying in order to help wrap my mind around what a 5% range, 5, 8, 13, 17, 22, was it 26, 31, and then 51%, all those different ranges, So I got that. And then let me show you what that looks like actually as a final. See, where is that? Okay, two-bet calling ranges. I am going to send this out to all of you in the email that's going to go out just very shortly. But so here we go. Here is this cheat sheet that I made. I'm sending this to you so you can go in and print it or just keep it on your computer, whatever you want right there. And then these two other pages that follow it, there are the 4 ranges. You just print them so that it's on one piece of paper, cut it in quarters. Same thing with the second page. Print it, cut it in quarters. Now you have 8 different flashcards that you can use, and just do, basically what I did. On the one side, 5% two-bet calling range right there. And then just try to visualize it as you go through the flashcards. Try to start memorizing them. So that's that and that. I also told you I was going to make a mind map. I have it right here next to me, but I'd rather just show you on the computer. Looks a little bit better right here. Okay, so the mind map is a visual representation of everything that you learned. It's kind of a way just to help you ingrain all the information in your brain, as well as a good way to go back and review what it was you studied. So this is all the different stuff that we studied this week in regard to assigning accurate two-bet calling ranges. Some information about fish, the different stats to use to help you assess the fish and the ranges that they call with, the different board textures and what boards are good for you as the opener, and then what boards are bad for you versus the caller down here. Wet and connected are just no good. Your hand's equity, you want to understand how your hand plays versus that opponent's range, whatever it is. Big cards and pairs are good. Suited adds equity. You want to look ahead to who may call to gauge how well your hand will play versus a caller's range. And narrowing ranges, the steps that you take to narrowing ranges right here. Now, this is ugly. This is not... I'm going to include this today in the within the email to you guys. But this is ugly. It's my handwriting. It doesn't look good. I'm going to send this to a professional designer to have them create something lovely that I'm actually going to put in the book and possibly make have a link to it so you can download it, from the book or something like that. I don't know how, but I'll make this nice and pretty. I'll gussy it up for everybody who gets the book. Hey, Charlie West, good to see you, buddy. So this is the mind map, and this is basically what a mind map looks like. I had a little fish and some cards down here. I'll have my creator make it nice and colorful, that kind of thing, and you'll see this later on. Hopefully I can get it done within the next few days through Fiverr. So let's pull out that agenda real quick. So this is the early session, the weekly wrap-up. Okay, so I showed you the mind map. Let me show you my one sheet now. So every week, at the end of the week, I create this is the one sheet. Okay. At the end of every week of study, I create a one sheet where I take all of the studying that I did, all the notes that I took, and I try to condense it down to one sheet. And let me show you something real quick. This is the regular note every day. This is the regular notes that I take with every day of notes taken. I don't know how to say that. All of my notes are on this sheet right here is what I should say. You can see it's 3,400 words total right down there. 3,400. It's a lot of words. Well, I condensed it down. I was able to get it down to 1,500 words. Normally, I try to get it just on one page, but a few different things happened this week as we were studying. So, first off, assigning accurate 2-bet calling ranges. This is all those notes that I took, just condensed down to the most important stuff right here. And I'll send this to you so that you have it. So you can see how I take, big notes and make into something small. So I'm not going to cover this bit by bit right now. That's kind of a waste of time, because I will send it to you and you could look over it yourself. This is just all the information that I learned about assigning accurate 2-bet calling ranges. Next up, on this next page, like I said, normally it's a one sheet, but a few things happened to make me make it bigger this week. So you remember this table. I completed this one within the study session, and then I sent these other 3 tables home for you to complete as homework right here. But I have it completed, and I figured, this is a really good item to include on a one sheet. So later on in a week, in 2 weeks, and a year from now, when I want to refresh my memory on everything I learned about assigning calling or 2-bet calling ranges, this is a good thing for me to learn. Plus, all these different board textures and stuff and how ranges hit board textures, this will probably be helpful just with a lot of different stuff I do in the future. So it's great to have it right here. And actually, next week in next week's podcast, it's about c-betting, and it's all about board texture and how board texture should influence your c-betting. So I'm probably going to use these tables right here within that podcast, to help me plan for the podcast for sure. So this is here part of my one sheet, and I'm sending this to you, of course. And then down here is my 5-question quiz. So at the end of every week, not only do I create that one sheet with all the most important information, I also make the 5-question quiz. And it's just essay questions where I ask a question and then I answer it. So why is it so profitable to play with passive fish who call too wide? And then bam, there's the answer. What stats do we look at to get a good idea of our opponent's 2-bet calling range? Answer. What percentages make for likely weak and wide 2-bet calling ranges? So, think about the stats that you want and what percentages tell you that they're calling too wide. The next question, what types of flops are very hard for wide calling ranges to hit? Because, you can expect oftentimes in these games, hopefully you're surrounded by a lot of fish, maybe a lot of loose aggressive players. They're possibly calling pretty wide. So you want to be aware and be ready for the kinds of boards that help your range and don't help theirs. And the last question, why is it important to pay attention to showdown hands of your opponents? And then bam, there's my answer right there. So I create this quiz. It's not really something that I'm going to quiz myself later. Actually, I do sometimes. I read the question and then without reading the answer, I'll just say my answer and see what corresponds, or see how my answer corresponds with the answer I wrote down in the past, So these are the things that I do to wrap up my week of study. It's the one sheet with all my notes and the 5-question quiz. I also make a mind map, and I also do any necessary flashcards if whatever I'm studying, if flashcards will help. And this week, of course, because we're trying to visualize, trying to learn 2-bet calling ranges, flashcards absolutely help in that regards. Yep. So, let's see what else was there on my agenda. And that was really it right there. I thought I might come back and talk and go actually through all of this stuff, but that's just going to be a waste of time. If you're getting this anyway via email, you can look through it. You can see what I feel is the most important stuff to remember or to know or to understand regarding 2-bet calling ranges. So you can look through that, print this stuff up, use it for yourself. Hopefully you filled out these tables. If not, you're going to get it anyway. But I would recommend filling out these tables on your own, because doing that work really does help. I have a much better understanding of how different ranges hit different boards because I did this work. If somebody would have just handed me this, I'm not going to take the time to try to study and to try to just learn from seeing it. You're better off learning by just doing it in Flopzilla. Entering a board, entering a range, and see how often that range hits that kind of board right there. And then by one good thing that you want to do too is you enter the range, you enter the board. Why does this range hit this board so well? So 58% on this board, but what if it was a high-end dry board? Ace 9 deuce rainbow. Why does that range only hit 10%? I don't understand. Well, that's the kind of thing that you want to dive in and think about and consider how this range completely whiffs on this board, but on that other board, it hits that super hard. Why is that? Once you start to understand the basics behind how ranges and boards interact, you'll be much better off, even if you don't have this kind of stuff visualized in your mind. If you just realize that your opponents call with a lot of suited connectors and a lot of middle to small pairs, well then, is that kind of a range, a lot of suited connectors and a lot of small to medium pairs? Let's give it a range like this, for example. Small, we'll keep 10, and small to medium pairs. Maybe they call with every suited ace and they would 3-bet ace 10 better. Let's say this is somebody's calling range. Well, how does this range hit an ace 4-3 board? Oh, 46% of the time, pretty good. But what about an ace king queen board? Oh, it hits way less at only 30%. Why is that? Doing that kind of critical thinking is really going to help you become a stronger, better poker player. It's going to help you read your opponent. It's going to help you make better post-flop decisions as well. So if you don't have Flopzilla already, you must get it. This is an imperative program to get. I wish I had an affiliate link, because I've sent so many people to Flopzilla, but I don't think they do affiliates, which is a bummer. But anyway, if you don't have it, you've got to get it. I don't make anything from you getting this. You simply learn better with this program. And then plus, a lot of stuff I do, I talk about learning with Flopzilla. If you don't have Flopzilla, you're not going to be able to learn from a lot of the stuff I talk about, because I use this and Poker Tracker 4, and soon I'll be using Card Runners EV a lot. So eventually, Card Runners is a program that I'll be talking about a lot. Not just yet, because I still need to work on that, of course. Yep. So I'll be sending this stuff out to you today in the email. The email is going to, of course, wrap up day 7 like all the other emails did. It wrapped up earlier that day. And then it's also going to give the weekly wrap up within that email. But that's it for now. Thank you very much for following me for this week. Please join me again tomorrow morning, bright and early, 5:15 in the morning. Sunday morning, 5:15, before church, if you go to church. We are going to hit the next week of study, which is going to be themed around getting the most out of Poker Tracker 4. So everything I'm going to be talking about, everything I'm going to be studying is going to be Poker Tracker 4 related next week, which is going to be really good, because the webinar that I'm doing later this month is all about Poker Tracker 4. So everything I learn in this next week is going to help me give a better webinar presentation at the end of the month. Alrighty, thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate your time. This is a super short little stream right here, a super short video, but thanks for attending. If you aren't part of the mailing list, make sure you go to, let me type it out here, smartpokerstudy.com/28days. Even if you join this like a week from now, 2 weeks from now, once you join it, you'll get a newsletter from me. That newsletter will have a link to the archive. You can go back and find this email. The email will be dated, April 8th, and then you can find that email, and in that email, you'll find the attachments, all of this stuff that I'm talking about. So, that's it. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. And thank you, Charlie. Yes, I am pretty dedicated to poker study, Charlie, and this whole thing. So I hope you take me up on this and you start studying right along with me, Charlie, and everybody else. Thank you very much. And, I might be streaming in just a little bit, maybe some Carbon, maybe some ACR. Not too sure, but you'll probably see me soon. Take care.